Hi, I wanted to share my reflections from our week one posts. So we had three posts this week. We had our introduction posts, our discussion posts, and our reflections posts. So let's start with our introductions posts. We are a diverse group. Most of us live in Texas, although one person is from Mississippi, a couple people are from Arizona, a couple people are originally from Mexico. Someone is moving to Korea and expecting a baby, so congratulations. We also have some grandmas among us, so congratulations, and some new grandmas among us, so congratulations to those who are expanding their families. We have some people who are engaging in career changes as well as lifelong educators. We have one active duty military member in our learning community. When we talked about people's philosophy of education, people talked in early childhood, and they realized the importance of early childhood for future learning. People talked about funds of knowledge, a holistic view of children, child-centered learning that was relationship-based, and an environment that was safe, home-like, adapting to the needs of children, but also was um, challenging for children's learning, right? And appropriately challenged learning. People also talked about early childhood education as creating a space for belonging, being play-based and engaging. And last, people talked about teachers and the role of self-reflection in in working as early childhood professionals. So then we moved into our discussion posts. So I want to give a shout out to Bianca and Paula, who had posts that are model posts, exemplar to the type of posts that should uh, be shared for a discussion post. So if you have questions about what a post should look like, look up Bianca and Paula's post. Um, People, when they shared information about developmentally appropriate early childhood STEM, they shared it with their dad, with their mom Yolanda, mom Suki, stepmom Lilia, un Uncle Louie, brother Matthew, husband, grandmas, and many people connected early childhood STEM and their explanation of early childhood STEM to the person that they were speaking to. So if the person had a military experience, they connected it to the military, or if the person was a very visual learner and needed concrete examples that were visually based, used those. So I enjoyed reading those explanations when people explained to family members. People recognize that early childhood STEM is a process, it is integrated. One person used the word immersive or immersion, and I appreciated that. It is engaging young children in problem solving. It is engaging, right? It is engaging process, but it also involves problem solving, critical thinking. Children have the opportunity to investigate, explore with hands-on and minds-on experiences. People used examples from their classrooms. One person talked about their dual language classroom where children use Moss and more. And other people talked about their classrooms, such as Daisy mentioned her experiences in her classroom with young children. Um, People connected in the next question, people connected the curriculum uh, for STEM to literacy and other subjects. They saw them really as integrated as a web. And those are my words. A lot of people saw STEM as integrated, but as I was reading the responses, I got this image of a web, that STEM was really part of this really interconnected um, system of what happens in a day with literacy and project-based or inquiry-based learning. But the last question that we had in relation to um, in our discussion in relation to Lillian Katz's academic versus intellectual learning was quite interesting. People had very different views of early childhood and early childhood STEM in relation to academic versus intellectual learning. Some people saw it as um, early childhood and early childhood STEM should is not connected to academic learning. Some people saw them as a mix. Some people saw them as very focused on academic learning, and academic learning should be a part of it. Some people saw it as really grounded in intellectual learning. So I was a little surprised reading those posts. And the last post we had was our deeper look, our deeper reflection, and um, people had a lot of thoughts and comments. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Luz and a shout out to Daisy. They had exemplar posts. So if you have questions about how to post or what to post or the format, you might want to look at those posts as exemplars. Um, someone in one of the very early posts I read talked about STEM time being cut from their classroom to make time for testing. And that was very hard to read in the context of everything we had just read. And just such a powerful opportunity for advocacy, right? Considering everything we've just read. And this was a person who worked in um, a multilingual classroom. And this is a person who worked with a diverse student body. And here they are up against their STEM time being cut to prioritize testing. And I just felt it was very apropos. Um, and I'm not going to name names, so if you find the post, you'll see it. But that just really struck me. It was very powerful reading that post in the context of what we were discussing. The person, was really reflecting on their STEM time being cut. And here we're talking about inequality and access to STEM, and they're living it. Um, and so I just want to highlight that. Many people were surprised by the inequality and lack of access to early childhood STEM experiences. The connection between STEM identity, STEM anxiety, stereotype threat is very real for early childhood teachers, for administrators, for families. Equity and access were issues that people posted about, and thinking about those issues. I was very surprised that many people wrote about individualized instruction as a way to support young children in early childhood STEM. And the reason I was very surprised is because we had just spent in our discussion posts talking about how STEM was a wonderful opportunity for group work, and it was creative and hands-on and inquiry based and play based. And then people talked about individualized instruction, which feels very teacher led and teacher directed. And I saw that in several posts. So I was very curious about that in the posts that mentioned it. So I did comment about that. What would that look like? What would that individualized instruction look like? Clearly, we want to meet children where they are. And we want to support children to grow and enhance their knowledge. And that can be done through teacher facilitation. And how we facilitate is going to be different based on the child, the children in the classroom, and even the group of children, and the day of the week, and the time of day, and all of these factors. What we say varies. There's no script. But what does individualized instruction look like? That was a question. I just want to remind people before I close a few things. Um, Please include references to sources. For the discussions, you have a set of sources to read, and for the reflections, there's sources to read. Part of the scoring for the reflections is that you use the sources, that you're synthesizing the sources. Remember, I used the analogy of a cake, that you're taking the sources, not just one, not just two, you're taking multiple sources, all of the sources, putting them all together, mixing them up, and out comes a cake. You put the flour, the eggs, and the flour is one source. The eggs are one source. The butter is one source, right? You mix them up all together and you're coming up with your cake. So, how are each of the sources contributing to your ideas? But also in the discussion, please cite your sources and include your sources. That's one. Number two, so use the sources, connect them to your post, discussion, and reflection, and please cite in APA format. And my last comment is word counts. Please include your word counts on your post and your comments, your responses to your colleagues' comments. Um, so that you can earn full credit. I look forward to reading your discussion posts and reflections for Module 2 and your experience with Oobleck. So I hope everybody has a great day, and I will see you again very soon. Oh, last thing, if you would like to set up a time to chat with me, reach out to me. I'm happy to set up a Zoom so we can connect. Have a great day. Be well.